crazy that I'm starting this, but I've been working on this like theory in my own life that I've realized is kind of the way that my world has kind of always changed and always goes. And it's about every 4 years, my life just takes like a drastic turn and it like completely reevaluates the way that I view life and the world around me. And let's dive into that real fast, shall we? And then we'll get to it. Don't worry, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. It starts, I think, for me in 2012 when I graduated from high school. Don't tell me how old I am. I'm a millennial. Like, we get it. Like, we already hate ourselves. Don't make me hate myself more. As 2012 kind of got through, I graduated from high school and immediately decided that, like, my next step was to go to college because, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to get a degree. You're supposed to get a job. So I decided that when we are in that phase that it's like that's what's next. I'm going to go to college. So I went to college, I did my job, I studied. Story for another time. We don't have to get into that now. I graduated from college in 2016 and I got my very first teaching job. For some reason in college, I decided to get into teaching. I will also get into that. That's a whole other story we're going to tell. So don't worry about that. As we are My camera's like really freaking out. If you're just an audio listener, then, just pretend that this part didn't happen. As we are getting into this is going to be a wreck. So if you guys are if you guys are laughing at any of this, even if you're laughing at me, please just follow along. This is what it's going to be like. Where was I? I graduated from college in 2016 with my teaching degree, and I got my first teaching job. It was a long-term subbing position, like an hour away from where I lived, and I was, you know, making that work. And a week later, I quit that job and I went into a deep, dark depression because I had spent like the last 4 years of my life just looking forward to the moment that I could be a teacher. I had spent all that time just being like, I can't wait to get into the classroom, to start my life, to like get going with it. And then a week into my job, I literally quit. Like, I quit my first teaching job. Like, that's just kind of like the story of my life, kind of, because we'll get into it. In 2016, a little bit later, after my deep, dark depression, I started looking around for apartments and jobs and things like that. I eventually found a school that I was really excited to be at. It was kind of a last minute hire, but felt really nice. I was really excited to be there. And then I would have stayed at that school for then the next first part of my career, which again, I'll get into that. Don't worry. And then as we are, going through the year, I get my first apartment. So 2016 is I deep dark depression era into my I got a job, I have an apartment, I'm a functioning person. Like, so cool, right? And then 4 years go by, 2020 comes around, and minus all the stuff that 2020 was, infamous for that we all know about. I won't rehash here. That's not what this is about. I started off the year in 2020 with a getting a whole jaw surgery, basically just like a reconstruction, just to make sure that like I could go around my daily life the way that, normal people do. I'll get more into that later as well. Just know that I got a jaw surgery. It changed my life. Later on in 2020, 2020 happens, you adjust, you go through all the things. I was very anxious that entire year, but we all were. So what else is new? And then at the end of that, I ended up buying my first house. So December in 2020, I bought my first house, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, so I'm on the right path. Like, I'm going, like I'm going strong. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I am on the path that I've always thought I wanted to be on, and that's different than how it has been, right? 4 years, and like I finally got there. 4 years later, I'm in 2024. And at the start of 2024, I entered it in kind of like this little bit of a funk just because of like, a lot of things that, happen. I think I was getting to a point of burnout. My teacher friends will understand where it's just like, you get to a point where you're 8 years into your career and you're wondering, like, is this all it is? Right? Is this all it is? And there are a lot of things I struggled with at my previous job. So getting farther to the point, the reason why my life changed in 2024 is I ended up quitting that job again, quitting my job again. I quit that teaching job that I was at for 8 years. And again, I kind of went into like this deep, dark depression era for a couple of weeks. Even though I knew it was right, even though I knew it was the choice that needed to happen, even though I was excited to move on, I guess, you still go through that phase of thinking, like, oh, was this like the right choice for me? Was this like the right move for me? Am I in the right space? And I started realizing, like, what is it that I actually want to do in my life, right? And I have always wanted to just, I've loved at being a teacher for the past, this is my ninth year. For the past 9 years, I've been a teacher who has, had a space for students in my classroom, Kassick's Corner, if you will, where they're able to come and be safe. Like, I'd have snacks. I would provide a space for them to talk through things. I would just, like unabashedly care about them and love them. And I think that that's what made me such a good teacher. And I think that's what still makes me a good teacher. And it was that piece of my story that I really wanted to like lean into. So I decided to start my counseling program, my second master's. So halfway through the summer, I was like, "Hey, I got in. Like, let's do it. Like, what? No time but now, right? The time will pass anyway." So I started doing that, and then I realized that it's like, okay, but I just want to be a counselor forever. And all of a sudden, I started making TikTok videos, and they're stupid, they're goofy, they're cringy, it's whatever. And through that, though, I kind of realized that I one enjoy it, and then two, there's like this weird sense of confidence that like comes from like putting yourself out there like that that I didn't realize that I had, and discovering that you have this potential at 30 years old to like go and do something brand new. Again, another 4 year difference. I turned 30 this year. Congrats. I'm old. Get over it. As we are thinking about those things, I decided that, let's push on, which got a new job. I'm teaching at a high school now. I'm in the midst of my master's program. I am making the strides forward, right? And that leads me to where I am now is I think this is the best forum for me to be able to create the things that I want is like a safe space for people, a safe space for students, a safe space for teachers, just to come and like kind of escape from things, right? It's like my little corner of the internet. Kassick's corner, if you will. Don't know why I keep saying that. Actually, I do. You'll see in a second. As I am kind of working to create like a platform and a space. This is all I've ever wanted to do in teaching. And I think this is all I ever want to do in life is just create a space for teachers, for students, for anyone who just needs a safe place to kind of talk through. Just like, that like trauma of daily existence because it's rough out there, homies. So welcome to the first episode of the Kassick's Corner podcast. And I'm so excited to get started. I don't know where we're going to end up, but at least we're starting somewhere. This is episode 0, I guess. This isn't really the first episode, but the first episode will be up next because I'm gonna post that too. So anyway, subscribe, like, whatever, all that stuff. I gotta get a good outro. I gotta write like music. Oh shoot, there's so much to do. Anyway, okay, see you in the next one.